Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first race of 2024 Formula AI season. Today we find ourselves at the iconic Bahrain International Circuit, where the asphalt is hot and the stakes are even hotter. And here we are, seconds away from the start of the race in Bahrain. And the clock strikes 18 o'clock, starting the race. And we already have Paris on 4th, Norris on 5th, leaving the other cars behind. But it seems that multiple cars are unable to start. The drivers make their way into the first few corners with Verstappen and Leclerc neck on neck. But let's not forget about the drivers, what they left behind. Our drivers not only have to fight each other, they also have to fight the rain, it seems. Carlos Sainz dropping 2 positions. He and the rest of the grid are losing valuable seconds, unable to start. And here we have Sainz starting the race for him, with the other drivers following. Although Bottas had to go to the pit lane, he still came out in front of many other drivers. His teammate is the only one being left behind. It seems like the car is unable to start, which is why he left the track. Back to the race, P1 is still fought over by Leclerc and Verstappen. But it seems Verstappen is going into the corner faster than Leclerc, winning the fight. Alonso now on P5 with Norris dropping to P6. Gasly moves up multiple positions on 16 with Albon dropping all the way back to 17. Then Ricciardo also gaining some ground with now P14 and Sargent moving away from P20, leaving Charles behind. Sargent in the Williams not only overtaking his teammate but also Esteban Ocon. The RS was immediately disabled due to their track conditions. And we have Albon now battling with Ocon back and forth. It is Albon who comes out on top and secures P17. As you can see on your screens, it's Charles Leclerc defending P2 from George Russell. Sauber driver Zhou Guanyu leaving the pit lane. Now, with a working car, also about to start the race. With Max Verstappen finishing the first round of this race. Russell winning the fight for P2. Hulkenberg losing P12 to Daniel Ricciardo. Russell now in second, but still a lot of seconds behind the leader, Max Verstappen. And we have a lot of fights in the midfield with Ricciardo dropping back all the way to P15. And here we have our Mexican driver Sergio Perez in the Red Bull following Charles Leclerc and George Russell close behind, who are again battling about P2. And it's Leclerc who comes out on top this time. Let's watch that again in the replay. Again on this straight, the two neck to neck. Leclerc taking the inner line here. Russell has to brake earlier to get around the corner, securing Leclerc P2. Clean overtake from Leclerc, leaving the Mercedes behind. And Nico Hülkenberg, who had a clean race so far, got crashed into by Lance Stroll. We're gonna watch the replay in a second. Lando Norris, one of many British drivers, has quickly become a fan favorite and formidable contender for future championships. Speaking of contenders, we have Norris with the fastest lap with a 2:13.608. Now let's look at the replay of Hülkenberg and Stroll's crash. Hülkenberg leading the midfield, getting rear-ended by a devastating crash from Lance Stroll in the back. This, of course, means a penalty for Stroll. And the rain seemed to have gotten a little better now, with DRS enabled. Let's see where this race goes. Unfortunately, DRS got disabled again. Alonso hounds Norris, searching for any gap to seize the advantage. Norris is driving defensively, but Alonso is applying immense pressure, pushing him to the limit. And it's Leclerc who steals away the fastest lap from Norris with almost a clean 2:13, only 0.088 seconds away. And it's a miracle how these drivers are always going faster and faster despite zero visibility. Oscar Piastri securing P7 for McLaren, holding back the rest of the grid in order to help out his teammate. Nico Hülkenberg, who has significantly fallen behind all the way to P20 with a massive distance to P19 Sauber driver shotgun shoot. Here we have Lewis Hamilton, who has won a joint record 7 Formula One Drivers' Championship titles, tied with Michael Schumacher. He also holds the most numbers of wins, pole positions and podium finishes, among other records. While I was talking about Hamilton, George Russell had enough of battling Leclerc and crashed into him. Leclerc did it with Hulkenberg. Russell rear-ended Leclerc. Looks like Russell didn't think that Leclerc would brake earlier this time, sending the Ferrari driver off the racetrack and out of P2. I have a feeling we're gonna see a lot more crashes here in Sector 2, and it's DRS enabled. Both McLaren drivers leave Leclerc behind, who is waiting to go into pit. And while Leclerc is waiting, Alpine driver Gasly already got into pit. Bottas driving all alone here on P8. His teammate Carlos Sainz now in front, the dream of many F1 fangirls out there. Talking about dreams, Albon's dream of P14 just got crushed by Alpine driver Ocon. The incident happened the same way Russell drove into Leclerc before. He's driving off the track to get to safety, and you can still see Leclerc on the side. And here we have him, their French, laughing into the face of Alexander Albon. After all cars have passed, Leclerc and Albon are now finally in the pit. Leclerc losing a lot more than Albon. Nico Hulkenberg leaving behind the two crash drivers, securing him P18. He's back into the race. Yuki Tsunoda, the Japanese driver, pressuring Sargent in the Williams. And it's Carlos Sainz who secures the fastest lap for Ferrari with a 2:11.671. Kevin Magnussen and Esteban Ocon clinch together. We got DRS disabled again because of track conditions. One of our two Australian drivers, Daniel Ricciardo, with the number 3 for RB. Let's check in, and Max Verstappen, who is still leading the grid, with a gap of over 26 seconds dividing him and George Russell. Guanyu now entering, doing the fastest lap of the race with a 2:09.243. Hulkenberg stealing the fastest lap from his competitor with a 2:6.4, but it's Hamilton who is only 0.006 seconds faster. And it's not only the fastest lap for Hamilton, he also let Charles know that he's a whole round behind. And it's Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari who is crushing time of the Mercedes driver, now with a 2:04.188 seconds. Our other Alpine driver, Pierre Gasly, trying to stay in the slipstream of the Red Bull driver, Sergio Perez. While watching Lando Norris, his teammate Oscar Piastri passed Fernando Alonso in their Aston Martin. We also have Yuki Tsunoda passing Logan Sargent, as well as Lance Stroll passing by Magnussen. Alonso not willing to give up that position so easily, applying a lot of pressure on Piastri. Alonso getting closer and closer here in Sector 2, coming up to turn 9 and 10. I almost have a bad feeling about the distance between the two drivers. We have Alonso crashing into Piastri. His teammate Norris overtaking Perez, who seems to have fallen out of the track. And what is this? Alonso kicking Piastri off the track. The Spanish man devastating the Australian. Here we have the two fallen drivers. Let's check out the replay to see what happened here. And it was Gasly who, although being an entire round behind, knocks out Perez. Here we have the replay of Alonso sweeping up the floor with Piastri. It still looks like a very dirty move from Alonso here. All right, after watching Alonso's point of view here, we clearly see that he was not able to see the driver in front of him. He tries to fight against the wayward steering and in the process pushes Piastri off the track. Both these crashes leave Piastri and Perez waiting to go into pit. Meanwhile, Leclerc is trying to get himself back into the race. His teammate in lap 7 trying to overtake Albon here, who is still in lap 6. And I didn't even realize Bottas was still driving in front of Albon here seconds ago, but Albon kicked him out the same way that Perez and Piastri have gone off the track. And Sargent went off as well, with Tsunoda thinking it was the time for revenge, taking out the Williams driver. We now have 4 crash drivers in Sector 4, and still no yellow flag out. And it looks like the middle grid has now caught up to the crash drivers in front. We have Lance Stroll in 8. Followed extremely close by Magnussen in P9, who is also followed by Alpine driver Ocon in P10. And there we go, all 4 crash drivers finally brought back into the pit lane. Let's see if they can come out before Hülkenberg, Leclerc and Albon can overtake them. And speaking of overtaking, we have Hülkenberg now back in P14. Leclerc also making 2 positions good in P17. Also, as you just saw, Ocon swept by Magnussen smoothly and is now in the slipstream of Lance Stroll, reassuring his position. And here we have our leader, Max Verstappen, about to enter lap number 9, increasing the gap between him and Russell further. Ocon now also overtaking Stroll here, which means we have Verstappen in P1, Russell P2, Norris P3, Alonso P4, Hamilton P5, Sainz P6, Tsunoda in 7, Ocon in 8, Stroll in 9 and Magnussen in 10. But what is this? It seems like Stroll had enough of Ocon, wiping him off the track. Let's take a look at how Ocon fell out of the top 10. And it's always the same turn in Sector 2, where the drivers devastate each other's cars. Hülkenberg an entire round behind Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to overtake him. We have Ocon now and Hamilton trying to go for the gap, almost hitting Hülkenberg, but he's still faster. Although being an entire lap behind, Hülkenberg is very aggressively showing Hamilton that this wasn't a nice move. Hamilton now squeezed between the German and Leclerc. I don't think this is going to go well in Sector 2. And the 7th-time world champion also realized it. giving Hagensberg and Sainz the space needed. He's losing a lot of speed here, which is why Bottas is also able to overtake him. With Sargent out of the way too, it's now Piastri who found the slipstream of Hamilton's car. We have Sargent overtaking not only Bottas but also Leclerc, finding himself now on P14. What is this? Sargent falling all the way back again. And we already know why this doesn't look good for Hamilton. Let me show you in the replay. And this looks like Sargent bumps into Magnussen in turn, spinning his car around. Sargent not making it off the track in time, with Hamilton hitting his car, pushing him off the track, and Sargent keeps going. A massive error from Sargent here, which will definitely cause Hamilton losing a lot of position in this race here. Meanwhile, Verstappen still manages to extend the gap between him and Russell. And we finally have a yellow flag out for Hamilton's crash. And as Verstappen passes by Hamilton, the yellow flag is taken away again. Verstappen now also overlapping Hamilton, who has fallen all the way back on P10. And we have Hamilton losing an entire round, but he finds himself all the way back on P20. Perez overtaking Sargent. But soon after, Piastri trying to correct his slip, crashing into Perez, sending Piastri himself off the track. After Piastri has been recovered, we now have both Hamilton and him in pit. Hamilton already spending a lot of time in pit. There's a lot of damage on his car that need to be repaired. And you can't make this up. Piastri leaving pit before Hamilton. And here we have Logan Sargent overtaking Sergio Perez. And we finally have Hamilton making it out of the pit lane with an astonishing 6 minutes behind Verstappen. Leclerc in the slipstream of Hulkenberg, both making their way back into this race. And the only thing Verstappen has to do is to accomplish a clean race, not making any errors here. Speaking of errors, we have a massive accident here with Ricciardo blocking Verstappen from passing. Ricciardo being stuck on Magnussen, who spun out while crashing with Stroll. We also have Norris on P3 in pit. So let's quickly investigate what happened. And it was Magnussen braking hard, causing him to slow down a lot. Stroll crashing into him. It looked fine until they come to the corner where Magnussen spins and gets stuck by Stroll's car. They almost come to a complete stop, Stroll being able to free himself from this tangled mess. But Magnussen being stuck on the gas, trying to free himself here, driving hard into Danny Ricciardo. And we also have Norris, but this time without an accident, going into pit for a tire change. And Alonso thinking of the same thing, needing to get his tires changed on his Aston Martin. We now have Alonso entering the box, Magnussen still in from the accident, and Norris leaving with a fresh set of tires. But this tire change cost Alonso P4. And here we have the fallen Mercedes driver, Hamilton, in the slipstream of the RB in front. But he does not have to worry about Russell, who looks like is securing P2 for Mercedes this race. And we have Russell now one lap after Norris, who's getting new tires. We also have Alonso overtaking Carlos Sainz here again, gaining back his position. And we also have Tsunoda overtaking Sainz because of an accident between Sainz and Magnussen. Russell coming out of the pit lane with no McLaren in sight. We now have a Ferrari and a McLaren both in pit after multiple accidents. We're gonna watch the replay in a second. We have Magnussen losing traction a little, crashing into Carlos Sainz, kicking him off the track where many of his competitors also lost a lot of positions. But Sainz wasn't the only one crashing this turn. Zhou Guanyu and Piastri also crashed into each other, causing the McLaren to spin. For safety reasons, he got off the track. And Ricciardo losing his cool here, spinning out, luckily not crashing into any of the other drivers of the track. This means a position gain for Hamilton, which I wouldn't believe would happen. We now have Ricciardo, Sainz and Piastri in pit. Massive accident occurred. I'm going to show you in the replay. Here you have Perez and French driver Ocon, with Perez having enough of him, pushing him into the wall, straight into pit. They completely destroying his car. We now also have Lance Stroll entering the pit lane. Lance Stroll leaving the pit lane, still with a massive gap between him and Gasly. Max Verstappen in round 14, only 2 rounds to go. Behind him, Esteban Ocon, who's 2 entire rounds behind. Lagging behind even further in the back, Lewis Hamilton. And we have Stroll and Gasly overtaking Tsunoda. Tsunoda trying to correct an error here, bumping into his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, therefore kicking him out of P5. And as we have Hülkenberg coming into pit for a tire change, Tsunoda is dropping positions. And we have Leclerc coming back into the top 10 here. Tsunoda coming out of the pit lane with a P10. He dropped 5 positions. And we have Alonso trying to get past the Williams driver. Sainz behind Alexander, Elwin and Alonso, still with the fastest lap of the race. Hulkenberg showing us how it's done right. Braking in the right time, not crashing into Piastri, and even avoiding hitting him as they enter the corner. P20 Piastri letting Hulkenberg pass. And we have the last third of the grid cramped together, with Perez in P15, Juanjo in 16, Ricciardo 17, and Max Verstappen stuck in between. The Sauber driver driving off track for a second here, which gives Danny Ricciardo in the RB a chance to overtake both him and Perez. Both Juanjo and Verstappen going into pit for a tire change here. A taunting move from Verstappen as he is about to enter the last round of this race. We now have the RB and the Mercedes rivals driving together, although Hamilton still 3 rounds behind our leader here. Only minutes away from the end of this race here, but Danny Ricciardo steals the fastest lap from Carlos Sainz with a 2:03.744. Max Verstappen finishing his final turn, accelerating into the straight and finishing the race in first place. Congratulations! Lance Stroll securing the fastest lap for Aston Martin with only 0.026 seconds away from Ricciardo's lap. George Russell with a P2 for Mercedes as he comes out this final turn. Lando Norris finishing third. Alonso on this final straight here, securing him and Aston Martin P4. Many drivers still one entire lap behind as the race comes to an end.